You're watching this week's show with Dan and Mike.
So, a bit of an interesting this week's show podcast.
From the vault.
We're doing From the Vault again, and this one has never, ever seen the light of day.
Oh, so it's from the vault.
It's from
the one where we shelve things that should never see the light of day. But this one
is part of an old thing that I tried to do that we then incorporated into the show. So years ago, I tried doing a solo sort of podcasty thing about mental health.
It's hard to do together, but let alone solo.
I'll be upfront. It was some of the messages I got. I just wasn't strong enough to read, respond, and keep my mental health up whilst doing all of that. And at this point, a friend of ours was trying to put together a charity gig underneath the name of UK Rocks to raise the profile. Now, unfortunately, that never came to fruition. But
it happens.
And the reason I'm explaining it is because at the start of this interview, and the reason why we booked it was as part of working with them. I've got permission from the person that was doing that. We're absolutely fine to release it because it's an important thing to get out there. But the reason why we didn't just chuck it onto a radio show or something like that, or just put it up on YouTube completely unannounced, is because it's actually
deep, isn't it?
Yeah. So
cuts, we should give a trigger warning, I guess. It's definitely a trigger warning show.
So this is something that's very important to me and Mike, and it's basically representation of mental health in various ways. Now, we're two males, I don't know if you can tell, and we work in a male-dominated industry. We even have his name on the show. Like, male is a big part of metal and rock and all this sort of jazz.
Yes, there's a reason they used to call it cock rock.
Exactly. And then we recently last year decided that we wanted to support Andy's Man Club in the UK.
Brilliant charity.
Yeah.
Supporting dudes going through whatever dudes go through.
Of all ages.
Of all ages, yeah.
I mean, with the best way, which is time spent in person, communication. If you don't know what Andy's Man Club is and you're in the UK and you like the idea of like finding out more, the links are below. Just check them out on social media because they post so regularly about what they do and how well it's going that you can find out everything that you need to.
And they've got very good merch that
you can wear pretty much anything you want.
It really stands out with the I don't know where I was going. Hip hop rocks. No. Just
so it's that, and they had lovely representation at Download as well, didn't they?
I think it was. I can't remember. So many festivals. Now.
They did so had a lot of people doing that, which is the sign for Andy's Man Club. We on the radio show, which you can find below, as well as a link to the playlist of all of these tracks. We do a positive mental attitude, or you could call it mental health, or just male mental health track, where we get artists like Jamie Mathias from Bullet for My Valentine.
Everyone that's been on the show pretty much up until Download, because that was just way too many to try and
We did a few,
and they're going out on the show, but everyone via Zoom and whatnot have all contributed a track that they put on when they're having a bit of a crap day, like the dogs on their shoulder kind of thing.
Either to cry with, or to try and elevate.
Yeah, or just to get them out of that funk,
whichever way it may be.
There's been some, from, say, Pantera, fucking Hostile, all the way through to Superstition by Stevie Wonder.
And Jeff Buckley with Grace. Stuff like that.
Go back further in the years, like Bad Brains is on there, so it's all...
And it's all basically trying to, because we know that whilst times are changing and a lot more people, all genders are welcome on our show. Whatever you represent yourself as, whatever you identify as, you're welcome on this show. But as males, we just wanted to make sure that we flew the flag for our own mental health after such a journey for the two of us. He was the one that bailed me out of the pit I got myself into trying to do the mental health podcast that the interview we're going to promote actually comes from, because I tried to do it, it was too much, and then you're like, right, stop, put it down for a while, we'll work out a better way to do it. And it's kind of turned into just a part of the show, a part of the podcast, all
part
that
of our interviews as well now.
Yeah, 100%.
Predominantly we are interviewing blokes.
Yeah.
because that's still the way within the industry. It is going to take a generation to
And we want it to happen.
balance it out, or even tip the scales the other way, where it's constantly women that we're interviewing because they're
we'd be happy with that.
kick-ass bands with new music. But
Exactly.
at the moment it's dudes, so
We got to do it for dudes. And Mike made a very good point to me before we started, which is it may not be Suicide Prevention Week or month or anything like that, but it's still just as important to try and prevent it.
100%, yeah. It's not like people just go, you know what, I'm going to wait till April, then I'm going to...
I'm going to do it just for this, make the message. No, we wanted to bring it out. And part of the reason is I got an interview with Jamie from Polaris at Download.
You did, again.
And we
Bros.
got into it again about mental health. So I was chatting to Mike and Heidi, our manager, about it. And then, just because we spent a lot of time together socialising and chilling anyway, this old interview with POD came up.
The Voice of the Nation.
Yeah,
POD.
Youth of the Nation
Youth
guy.
of the Nation, that's it.
And like Mike basically said, well, didn't you do something huge about suicide prevention with POD? And I was like, well, yeah. And I was like, but we never aired it.
But we still put Heidi in the lift and pressed basement to send her down to the vault, and
Yes.
she couldn't find it in the vault.
No, it turns out it was on a really old hard drive of mine because I had filed it away with the rest of my Dancast, which is what we called my mental health stuff.
The worrying thing is, though, she was down in the vault for a very long time. I'm a bit worried about some of the things she might have found from the vault.
There are
talks
some
that we're gonna
interviews
do.
that
Yeah.
can never see the light of day. Controversial, but not us, the people that we interviewed. So, yeah.
And that wasn't Kneecap or Bob Dylan.
No, it wasn't either of those two. So, massive trigger warning on this. The other thing is, I would request, if you want to comment, that's fine, but don't put this guy on blast for his faith. Because one thing that surprised me when our manager watched the interview is she said that it was lovely to see, because I'm not a Christian, I was raised in a Christian household, but that pretty much committed me to a life of atheism and apathy.
Peace and love, man.
I'm about that. I have never riffed with Christian faith myself. But
Religion plays a
key
part in society, and it does have some very good elements to it, but
we're not faithful.
We're not, I believe in you. And that's all the faith I need.
Exactly, and I believe in you and our manager after all, and our manager after all the numbers she gets us.
Yes.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
And she believes in Joe Hendry. But what was, and because it's years old, you'll find I go back to having really long hair again. One thing which I was surprised that the manager realised in watching this is that we're really respectful as an atheist and a Christian meeting over mental health the way that we talk about it.
Well, that's almost what I was getting at. It's like, if you've got faith or you're into religion, then that's an avenue where you can get support for your mental health, be that with your pastor or
I believe we actually talk about that in the interview.
Or that kind of thing. That's a huge part of the understanding that I have of religion is to support thy neighbour, as they say. But
pretty much,
I'm the same as you. I don't have that kind of thing in my life, but if I need help, there is so much help out there, besties. I put it off camera.
We've also dropped in the this, if this does hit hard, the main numbers for UK and America. We know the UK one is Samaritans, as well as we're going to chuck in links to Andy's Man Club and a couple other things. So in the bio, if you are struggling watching this and you're wondering what services are available to you, we're going to load up the description with so many links to mental health stuff.
Yeah, there's like BetterHelp that sponsors so many podcasts. But not ours yet, but that's coming.
It's coming.
We'll do a table read for you, BetterHelp. But listen to one of your favourite podcasts. You probably get a discount code on that, and they are one of the biggest online sort of mental health support charities out there. And there's all sorts
And there's even stuff like one of the things that I love at the moment is I bought one because I know it's not a charity, but it was out of the main ones I could see. Is there's clothing companies now that are putting male mental health at the front of their branding.
They are.
Not to raise money for charity, I'm not saying that that's the case, but it's to get the message out there. So I've got a Boys Get Sad Too hoodie.
There's always that one at a festival that we always see that we're stood behind someone and goes, yo, to the person stood behind
me, you matter.
You matter.
Love
you
that
are
one.
loved, but not loved enough for me to move out of the way so you can see your favourite band.
Yeah, and
I added that bit myself.
and I have seen Tommaso Ciampa, the part of DIY wrestling on WWE, that tag team.
Okay, yeah.
He turned up with one of my favourite ones, which I saw, which I didn't buy because I went for Boys Get Sad too, with the broken crayon still colour.
Yes, they do.
He wore that one as his walk-in top for one of the weeklies.
Nice.
And again, it's just, I love the fact that males are trying to shout it out. And there's a nice little nod that when you see somebody else in a Boys Get Sad too hoodie, when I've been wearing mine, I get a little nod or a little fist bump or whatever. And this is stuff that never existed with male mental health before. We all kept it so inside and we didn't talk about it. Emotions got too much that I wouldn't even dream 10 years ago of wearing a hoodie that literally said on big text on the back and on the front, Boys Get Sad too. I believed that big boys do cry, but society wasn't that friendly towards that message being out there.
Well, it has definitely changed, but still needs to go a long, long way because it's still predominantly men that are committing suicide.
At an alarmingly high rate.
Shockingly alarming high rate.
And so, again, if you are a male and you're watching this and you are struggling, get hold of the Samaritans below. We can't say message us through wherever you're watching this because we don't monitor the inbox in that type of way. We also don't want to hold ourselves up as being counsellors or necessarily able to help. But we do know where you can find help, and we're going to load up the description with where you can find it if you need
We're
to.
just advocates of support.
Yes. So I think that's probably everything that we want to say pre-interview.
Yeah, so this is basically you with POV.
Yeah, doing something where he went into it, I went into it, with the idea that we're talking about suicide prevention. So we're going to just let that roll, and long-haired Dan's going to come back again.
Oh.
Right, so it's Dan here. I'm doing an interview with Sonny on behalf of UK Rocks. Well, I'm always nervous about doing these types of interviews because we're going to jump straight in because UK Rocks is a suicide prevention charity. And the reason why I've sort of been asked to do this and why I want to talk to people about this is because we've reached a very scary time sort of across the board where almost everybody these days is affected by suicide, either the feelings themselves, family members being affected, social groups being affected. And you've kindly sort of agreed to talk to us about it. For me, I've done a couple of these interviews in times past, and I've noticed that the feedback whenever sort of somebody like yourself is actually quite open about talking about it, people take a lot of courage from, because I think we get into a mindset with musicians where, you see people dealing with the feelings and, the understanding of the emotions, and almost kind of think that they're nailing it. Whereas I found that when bands and, people talk about it, they realise that no, there is still a lot to be related by. It's not just a case of being able to write a song and move on necessarily. Right. So, it's a struggle to sort of work out what to sort of ask you on this basis, but we'll jump in with sort of something which generally is a feature of these interviews is if somebody out there is struggling, what would be sort of the things that you would say, the encouragement that you would give to somebody that does find themselves in a place where they're feeling like there aren't sort of many options and they're going down that path?
I think for me, being a man of faith, not only do I find strength and courage, with my own personal family, my wife and my kids, but at a young age, when I came to faith, it was understanding my God and the worth that He sees in me and loving me. So I've always had this balance of that. Okay. Even though, it doesn't mean that life is easy, you know what I mean? Things are tough, but I'm always reassured that, I was created for a purpose. I have a God that loves me and believes in me and wants the best for me and has a plan and a future for me. And even in Scripture, it says that joy comes in the morning time. Okay. So I always, it doesn't, how crazy my day is or the madness of certain things and struggles that we go through, I always remind myself to hang on.
Yeah.
And also remind myself of the people that I do love and the consequences of these actions. And I like that people are talking about it more these days because, like you said, you think, well, you're in a band and you got everything, and that's not true. You know what I mean? That's not true at all. You look at someone even like our friend Chester Bennington. It was like you would think if anybody is on top of the world, but behind closed doors, it's that thing that we're looking for that fills that void. You know what I mean? And so again, for me, that comes in my faith. It comes in the friends that I have. It comes in my surroundings and not allowing myself to dwell on too much negative stuff. Yeah. And even though if you're in a dark place or a negative place, it's like there's beauty out there. It's just harder to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even for me, like, because we talked about this earlier, where it's like I'm not in overseas as much, so I go through an English countryside or a German countryside, and I'm just like, this is gorgeous. Yeah. This is beautiful. I'm used to being in a smoggy city, traffic and noise, and it's like, so it really is just trying to find those moments where you can pause and take a moment to reflect on the good things, because there are so many good things in this world. Even if you don't see it, they're there. Yeah. And if anything, you should be encouraged that those good things are waiting for you to discover and to experience it, But I totally understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually raised Christian myself. I don't call myself one these days purely because I think it's...
I don't like labels.
Well, I also don't like the disrespect that people that do define Christianity a certain way would think about my belief structure necessarily. Exactly. But there's a lot of what you were saying there where I do appreciate and understand what you're saying. And some of the stuff, because I've gone down the road myself with dealing with anxiety and depression for about 20 years now. I've been trained in CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy and stuff like that. And there's a lot which you just said that really resonated, where those moments where if you can just take stock for a few minutes. And I know that faith plays an important part in sort of people's recovery a lot of the time, because it's not necessarily about having a defined belief structure in something. It's about, as you said, looking to a bigger picture, looking to a greater understanding as well. And the thing which you touched upon, which really resonated with me, and I think it's something which I don't know, I've had some experience with, is where, you can have these top of the world sort of experiences, you can have everything almost lined up and still be struggling. So you could have, like, for me it would be, I had one of the most successful weekends doing what I do in the music industry. And, I ticked so many almost bucket list boxes across this weekend that it should have dented the way I was feeling at the time. Yeah. And, it was one of those where it felt like nothing was happening, but I also was lost. I wasn't taking stock. It took me a long time to get used to doing that. And in fact, for me, it was spending almost every day going down to a beach that is near to where I live and just walking in the water. Yeah. And that helped, like, so much deal with the like sort of hopeless feelings and things like that. Yeah. The one thing I really love about faith, whether or not I'm necessarily what people would always describe as being of the faith, is it promotes some really important things, which is, kindness. Because if you're able to be kind to people, you find that something that does change your perspective on the world. Oh, yes. As well as self-worth is such a big part of faith. I found is, it's teaching you to find the good parts of yourself, understand and deal with the parts of yourself that maybe you don't like as much. And I think that a lot of people, sometimes misunderstand what, taking an interest in that sort of thing does give you. You don't necessarily have to suddenly be a Christian converted and everything like that to understand the lessons. Like I said, growing up in it as well, you did see people that, in times of great need, sort of turn to that. Like I say, I think it's partly because there is so many good lessons within faith.
Oh, of course.
That teach people, as you say, to look beyond where you are at the moment. take stock and try and find those moments. Sorry.
I think you said it before that Christianity has distorted a view of God, because God says, you're worth it just the way you are. I love you just the way you are. Don't change.
Yeah.
I know you. I created you, designed you. I love you. I want to be with you. Whereas man says, well, I don't like this about you.
Yeah.
This is wrong in your life. Where God is saying, just let me love you, and we'll work on those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to change those things to for me to love you. It's just like, if there's something in your life, we'll work on that. But you said, if you're depressed, let's work on that.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm mad at you because you're depressed.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I love you, and I want to love you through that.
Yeah.
And again, you said, religion has distorted so many things, where Jesus said this one thing after all the things that he did and all the beauty and the love that he gave, and whether it was miracles or feeding the thousands and loving people, he said, you know what, if you can just remember this one thing. And he said, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love each other like you love yourself. Now I have a problem with selfishness.
Okay.
Selfishness to me is evil and it's a disease. But if we can love each other, if I can love you the way I think number one should be loved, then I'm going to treat you better than I would treat myself. And if we can take religion out of it, if we can just change that, just follow that philosophy where it's like, hey, let me get that for you. Or what do you need? You need some money, or you need food? Yeah. Hey, why? War is not even a word in my dictionary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know love, I know peace, I know giving, I know sharing. And I think if we can do that with one another, then those that are going through things or depressed or struggling, we wouldn't feel that way, because we do feel loved.
Yeah.
And then you said nowadays it's more prevalent today, but it's like, but look at the things that we're focused on. We're focused on social media that says, look at me, I have everything in the world.
Yeah.
I am the best at this. I am so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And so everything is, you're not looking at who you are or what you're worth. You're just comparing yourself to liars. Basically, most of them are liars, and then so that goes back again to envying. Instead of loving you and sharing with you, I'm just envying you, and pretty much envy turns into hatred, and it turns into self-loathing.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff is nonsense. I think once you can just at least balance that or eliminate it and spend more time, like you said, walking on the beach and letting your feet touch the sand and water than looking to see what so-and-so has, or, oh my gosh, he's amazing, or she's so gorgeous, and look at this money, I wish I had that, and my life's never going to be this good. And so you stay here, and all that's telling you is your life is not as good as everybody else's.
Yeah.
And that's not true. Like before, you would throw on the music or song or take a stroll, and it's like, nah, just, you know what? Today's hard, but I feel all right,
Well, it's a very interesting thing that you mentioned about social media, because at that point where I was walking on the beach, anything that was essentially tied to my own name, because I obviously run a radio show and stuff like that, but even that for a while, I put down everything.
You have to.
And it was an interesting thing that happened, because to begin with, it was almost like I'd pull my phone out for no reason. And I just kept pulling my phone out for no reason. And then after a while, I realized that I was concentrating more on the world around me.
Yeah.
And that was a sort of taking time for myself, but not selfishly.
Yeah.
One of the things I really enjoyed about sort of that happening is, so to begin with, I stopped taking pictures because I didn't have anywhere to post them.
Yeah.
And then I started taking pictures for myself. And now I've got an entire gallery which I look back on and smile, because it reminds me of
that's awesome.
That sort of thing. But you're so right about this thing, because I bought into it for so many years. I was a boaster on social media, I think everybody is to a certain extent, because it's the world. I fully recommend taking a complete break if you're struggling from social media.
Fast, you have to fast from social media.
Because it reminds you of why you do things and what you're doing them for. And that was a really important thing for me when I was at the worst point in my depression that I've been for a very long time. Which was, I didn't need to compare to anybody. I could just get up and live my own life and do my own thing. Like I do as much as I can, I think probably due to my upbringing, try and live by being kind to people.
That's
for
it, man.
no reason. You know, I see somebody broken down, I'll try and push them out of traffic and stuff like that, because it's almost selfish where I remember those moments where people have done that for me, and I remember the way it makes me feel, and you know that sometimes is the turnaround, like the random person's like sort of chance. And it was a Christian in the summer which I ran into through work when I was having a fairly dark day, that gave me the strength to carry on, like at a moment where I really needed it. And just through a conversation and through showing me kindness. So, and I wasn't capable, and I want people to understand as well, it's not a case of just suddenly being able to do that.
Right.
It's definitely something which I lost when I was lost in my own depression, which when I got it back made me realize how important it was.
Yeah.
Showing kindness
That's awesome, man.
It does remind you the better aspects of yourself, because you know everybody does have things that they like and dislike about themselves, and you can choose to be the things that you like about yourself more so than the other things.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And slowly but surely it does raise your self-worth.
Yeah, kindness is within, and so when you're kind to somebody, that affects you first before it affects them, because you can't choose how they receive it.
Yeah.
You can't affect how anybody acts towards you or responds towards you, or you know. So it starts within yourself. Hopefully, if you smile at somebody, you hope that the reaction is a smile in return. But if it's not, it still shouldn't. It should still make you happy. At least you did your part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least I smiled from within, and you didn't smile back at me. It was like, you know, then it just realized that, okay, well, maybe you're going through something. I'm not mad at this person, but at least I was able to smile, and hopefully you'll remember that maybe on your way home or something, and you'll remember, man, I didn't smile back at that guy. Maybe I should have, you know? It's contagious.
The thing is maybe that the most thunderous looking person you see in that day is probably the one that actually needs you to smile at them the most.
Of course.
And accept that it's not going to give you necessarily back the the validation that you're looking for, because you don't know how much doing that for a person that's so used to reflecting that thunderous nature back at themselves, they've got that sort of front, because you know, they're, like I say, it's almost the person that looks like they don't need it the most, that probably actually does need the smile the most.
You're right.
Kindness is such a, as you say, it's such a thing for both parties. The person being kind and the one receiving
For
it.
sure.
So that's covered some ground which I wasn't necessarily expecting it to cover. I think probably we'll wrap it up there, because that covers so much for me, which like I say, I didn't know what would come of talking to you about this.
Man.
And thank you for having sort of respect to talk to me about faith after I said that I wasn't necessarily what most people would conceive of being it, because again, that's a really open thing, and I really appreciate that. So
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
As Pitbull would say, turn a negative into a positive.
I genuinely sometimes look at my old stuff and I'm like, okay, well, you're doing some good stuff. It's a shame you lost your confidence in it. But thanks to having a bestie, and then there's another bestie off screen that we work with, thanks to these guys, I'm not doing this unsupported anymore.
We're all doing it, and we're both doing interviews on mental health and touching base and stuff.
Yeah. So the only things that we want to say is what we said just before the interview. If you're struggling, if you're considering doing something that is covered in the interview, there are links below. People are available right now on those numbers. Not only that, but let us know in the comments who you think would be a good person for us to touch base with. We have some people on this list already, because I have quite a long history with Jarrett from Bowling for Soup on mental health. We've done it with Amity Affliction. Me and Joel have talked quite a few times about that.
There's been a few. I slightly remember, I think, speaking with Ralph and
you did Ralph Reynolds?
About things like that.
Yeah, so if there's somebody out there that you're like, I've seen them do some good posting, they got some good words, you guys need to sit down and chat more deeply with us, let us know in the comments who you want us to try and book a mental health based interview with, because we are at the end of festival season in a position when we're not sat in the middle of a festival press area, which is not conducive to making a good mental health interview happen.
And we've still got a fair few festivals to go.
So for the autumn, let us know who you think we should chat to, and we'll make every effort to either talk to them on Zoom or get to them in person.
Yeah.
There's been a few failed attempts over the years, and I'm going to dig a few out because if you remember, I launched the Dancast with Dave McPherson from In Me.
Yes.
And a deep chat that we had as well. There's been lots of stuff like that over the years. So if you can think of somebody that you like, that Jesse Leach has even got an entire podcast over mental health and an entire Facebook and Instagram profile, I think. So we're going to try and sit down with them if we get the opportunity to. The only thing that does stop us from time to time, and this is shout out Jarrett for making us aware that if a band's on tour, you don't kind of want to maybe turn up before they have to do a show and suddenly talk about something that is that close to home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the main thing is we're just a bit worried because, you know, it's such a trigger-worthy interview. Please do contact the numbers below if you're watching this and struggling. So, we will get back to this particular type of On The Vault one. Like I say, I've got a few more things we can dig out of the vault. Not sure if that's going to be next week or weeks after. Just stay tuned. We're going to make sure that this is not something we drop. Take it easy.
Now. That was